Hello everybody, it's me, the Anonymous Mystery, your local nocturnal detective. And Mona, my trusty crime-fighting dog. Love is such a beautiful, powerful, and dangerous thing. Tonight, we'll see just how far someone is willing to go in the name of love. And tonight's case is... Rose-Colored Cover by Phony Roni. The description is as follows. You can never expect everything, especially not waking up in someone's basement. Talking with an acquaintance had never come back to bite you until now. Lo and behold, you come face to face with a real yandere. But you're not the one she's after. Will you fight for your survival, or give up and accept your demise? The choice is up to you. And her. Relevant trigger warnings are listed here. With everything having been outlined, let's dig right in. Oh, this is cute. A little hair clip, mouse icon. That's cute. Dang, cracks me over the head, huh? With a pipe. Vision slowly returned to you, albeit very fuzzy at first. Your eyes took a second to adjust to the darkness all around. Laying on a concrete floor made your body ache, while the back of your head was throbbing. Where were you? Last thing you remember was seeing a bus stop, and then darkness. You weren't even going to the bus stop, you just wanted to throw away some trash in the trash bin. It was impossible to be a good Samaritan. You shouldn't have done the right thing. You should have thrown the fast food leftovers on the ground and went home. Now you were in what looked like a basement with your limbs tied and your mouth taped shut. Good people really do die young. Let's save. This is so cute! Oh, look at that! Oh. Gotta remember that return's not on the very bottom. Assess the situation, look for the bathroom, panic. Let's panic. There's no way in hell you could stay calm at a time like this. You thrashed your body back and forth to try and sit up, but it proved to be pretty difficult with your hands tied behind your back. After a moment of struggle, you used all the strength in your abs to sit up properly. Once you had regained the smallest semblance of control, you pushed your body back against the basement wall. Your breathing was ragged and quick, which wasn't helped by your taped mouth. Was this really where you died? You would be tortured and killed by a stranger who picked you up off the side of the road? Your head hurt, your wrists and ankles felt raw from the rope, and your heart was hammering 1,000 miles a minute. What could you have done to avoid this outcome? Could you have done anything different? Gone somewhere different? Kept walking? Creak. Creak, creak. The floorboards above you were so loud you could hear the footsteps from all the way in the basement. Somebody was up there, undoubtedly the person responsible for taking you captive. There were a few moments of alarm that were brought to an end when the footsteps got louder. Your eyes were glued to the ceiling above as they moved to the left, then forward, towards the rickety old stairs. Your heart stopped as the sound of a lock clicking hit your ears. Then the scrape of old metal as the doorknob turned. The blood in your veins ran cold, and you felt as though time slowed in anticipation of what was to come. Your kidnapper was coming downstairs, and you were about to see their face for the first and possibly last time. Then came the sound of shoes at the top of the stairs. Every step brought your inevitable fate closer and closer, staring helplessly into the darkness as they descended. The sound came to a halt, and then... the whole room was bathed in pink. You flinched and squinted your eyes from the drastic change in lighting. You had expected to see a burly man dressed in all black, maybe even a scary mob boss who was about to ask your family for ransom money. What you hadn't expected was for a pair of garish yellow heels to be in front of your face. Your eyes slowly trailed upwards past a pair of freshly waxed legs and a bright pink skirt. There, before you, was a young woman with a pale bow and styled blue hair. She was looking down at you, as if you were a small mouse she had found scampering around in her basement, rather than a tied-up human being. As you stared at each other in silence, her expression gradually relaxed to a sickeningly sweet grin. Then she spoke.
Oh, you're much cuter from the front.
Hello? Those same yellow heels were then used against you, kicking your stomach. She kept her foot rested there, the heel digging down into your soft skin.
It's a real shame you have to die.
Me! Try to fight, cry, stare. You're not about to put your dirty shoes on me and not get a fight. You thrashed your body as aggressively as possible and tried your hardest to get away. You didn't expect to get far with your limbs bound, but it was the intention that mattered. It was just to prove a point.
Oh, well, that's no fun.
She knelt down in front of you and reached for you, causing you to flinch back. No amount of self-preservation could avoid her in this situation, though. Her right hand pressed against your temple to keep your head steady, while her left grabbed the edge of the tape. It was yanked off your lips in a flash, making your skin buzz and tingle with pain. Ow!
There we go. I hate talking to myself.
She didn't seem to care how it irritated you. Her head tilted to the side, and the feeling of dread took over.
It's about high time I introduced myself, yeah? My name is Gabriella. Not that it'll matter to you anyway. You won't be alive to remember it.
She then giggled and poked your nose.
And you have been a little thorn in my side as of late. Jake hasn't had any time for me since you entered the picture. I think that's pretty selfish of you.
Who's Jake?
This is you finally reaping what you sow.
Is Jake my boyfriend? You a man stealer? Scream for help. Jake, really? Let me go. You're a fucking psycho. Alright, to say Jake really, she obviously is interested in this dude, so I feel like talking smack is not gonna help. I also don't think she's gonna let me go. I also think making her mad by calling her a psycho is not gonna help either, and I don't think anyone's around enough to hear me scream for help. I'm at the bottom of a basement. Let's talk smack about Jake. Yeah, you don't want Jake. He sucks. Her mouth opened to refute, then clicked shut again. After a moment or two, she let out a chuckle.
Yeah, his name is very stereotypical, but a hot guy name is deserving of a hot guy.
Is he hot?
So...
Her eyes were fixed on you without a hint of looking away.
Now is the time for us to chat. How's that sound?
To chat?
I want you to understand exactly what it is that you did wrong.
Yeah, 'cause I'm confused right now.
I'm not as selfish as you are to deprive you of that. This is a chance to confess and right those many, many wrongs. That's why I'm giving you this time before you meet whatever fate awaits you.
What the hell are you talking about? What wrongs?
Don't play dumb! Jake's taken quite a liking to you. I know you've noticed. You're trying to spur him on and earn his affection. Earn. More like steal.
The way she said it was with such clear disdain, you could almost feel the venom spat from her lips. She leaned closer to your feet, then reached for something out of your view. Not a hammer, not a hammer, not a hammer.
This is a whole song and dance he and I do. He pretends to like other people, but always comes crawling back to me.
You tried to follow her path with your eyes, leading you to a box she had shoved in one corner.
Although, it's not like I give him much of a choice.
From the depths of the box, she pulls out a pair of dull scissors. Aw, heck nah. Any ordinary person would have thrown those away, but you had a suspicion she wasn't ordinary by any means.
I think he knows how jealous I get and does it on purpose. I don't mind though. I'll dispose of as many loose ends as I need to ensure our happily ever after.
You jerked your head back as the tip of the scissors were waved dangerously close to your eyes. She merely laughed at your wariness.
And your end is very loose indeed. I've seen your eyes on him. Those times you crossed paths at the grocery store and talked a little too long when he offered to pay for your drink at the coffee house. I watched his eyes follow you as you walked away, off to whatever useless fucking pastime you occupy yourself with.
The scissors moved lower, their dulled tip nearly at your neck.
It makes me sick how much you affect him, and me as a result.
The gasp you let out was involuntary as the tip of the scissors touched you. It was hard to feel at first, but she slowly applied more pressure. It was like she was testing the sharpness using your body. That, or your pain tolerance.
I actually haven't used these scissors before. I want to get more creative with you. The sharp tools have done just fine before, but they take you vermin out too quickly. I want to see if I can savor this instead.
You inhaled shakily as she lightly prodded at your skin, moving down your body with every poke of the scissors. You couldn't do anything to escape it. A sudden sting in your side told both you and her the same thing. She has found how much force she needed to draw blood.
Maybe I can even show you a fraction of the pain you've caused me. You've caused us!
Us? Her outburst made you worry she was about to plunge the scissors deep into your stomach next. However, the scissors moved away from you, and Gabriella set them back down briefly. Her eyes were finally off you, instead looking down at the tool with a thoughtful expression.
Maybe these won't do enough damage. I quite like the tools I used last time.
Why are you doing all this for a man? Distract her. Explain your situation. Egg her on. I don't think she's gonna be, happy if I go, he's just a guy! She's in too deep. Clearly she's done this to multiple people, as she's willing to do it to me. Let's try explaining my situation. Look, I promise I have no interest in Jake. Gabriella let out a quick scoff.
Of course you don't. Just like everyone I've had in here who said the same thing after their mistakes caught up to them.
No, I'm serious. He's just some random guy I've talked to a few times. I probably wouldn't even remember his name if you hadn't reminded me.
That's a dirty fucking lie.
Oh. Gabriella's fist collides with the ground beside your head, trapping your words in your throat. Her hand shook with restrained anger before she moved her hand away, a bruise blossoming across her knuckles.
I won't let you have him. He's mine. It's about time you understood that.
Yeah, he's all yours, girl. I'm not trying to stand in the middle of that.
That's enough chit-chat, isn't it? The fun hasn't even started yet.
Gabriella's heels clicked against the concrete as she sauntered away from your floor spot. Whatever fun she was referring to was probably the opposite for you. She laced her hands behind her back and allowed her eyes to wander the room, lost in her own world.
What shall we do to start the evening? It'll have to be quick if I want plenty of time to dispose of you later, but I hate to rush things. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
A rickety wooden floor cabinet ended up being her destination as she slowed her pace and stood in front of it. You could hear the drawers being pulled open and she rifled through it, although you couldn't see anything yourself.
You know, Jake actually hates cake. I bet you didn't. You don't know anything about him, really. Not like I know him.
You watched as she threw a couple objects out the cabinet. A couple pencils, some business cards, and a few old tape dispensers. None of them ended up hitting you, as they just bounced away in different directions. Her rant continued without missing a beat.
He likes to have sweet potato casserole for his birthday instead of cake. Isn't that strange?
Sweet potato casserole? Is Jake black?
I make one for him just the way he likes, but he still wants some nobody like you. I bet you can't even bake a sweet potato casserole. He wouldn't be happy with you. You could never put in the amount of effort I have.
She turned around again, leaning against the cabinet casually with a small box in her hands. She slid it open, pulling out a singular match and twisting it between her fingers.
How about fire? Are you afraid of fire?
Burning alive.
I could bake you into a nice little casserole and he'd be none the wiser. Would he?
The match was quickly lit as she scraped it against the box and brought a small flame to life. "Wait, you can't!" you exclaimed in a panic when the match was flung towards you. Your whole body seemed to recoil and you squeezed your eyes shut on instinct. There was no burning feeling. Peeking your eyes open again revealed the match had landed a few feet from you. It sparkled on the ground before going out with a puff of thin smoke. She was laughing at you. The girl was a real sadistic freak.
Wow, you're a real piece of work. I was joking. I would never do that to my dear Jake. I bet you taste disgusting anyway.
Her shadow came closer until she was in front of you once again.
No. I prefer something a bit more direct.
A second match was lit, the light brightening her features. The flame came closer to your eyes as you shifted as far back as you could. However, there wasn't much space to escape her whims.
I like forwardness. It's what drew me into Jake.
Suddenly, she pressed the match hard into your upper arm. It seared your skin, and you let out a shriek. Her unexpected attack wasn't without her adding a little verbal salt to the wound.
Don't look so surprised.
The used match dropped from her fingers and onto the basement floor. Gabriella promptly lit another, this time using it against you, much quicker. This one was pressed down on your calf. You hissed at the sensation and kicked your legs as much as possible to try getting it away from you. As the pain subsided, you took a second to catch your breath. What's wrong with you? Her brown eyes were filled with indifference as she stared down at you and hummed.
Have I told you how Jake and I met?
Nope. Your words were completely ignored.
It was back in high school. I guess you could say we were high school sweethearts.
I wonder if they have been together or if she's deluding herself into thinking they were together. She lit another match, but didn't use it immediately. She just stared into the glowing flame. You were too scared to utter a word while she was distracted.
I was already living alone by the time I was 15. Classes were never fun, so I skipped school a lot. Every day was so empty.
She giggled, and a blush appeared on her face.
That is, until I met Jake. He was known as a player back then, so he skipped classes like the cool kid he was. He was in the park where I wanted to take pictures. I got a picture of him in the best light. It made him glow. I knew right then and there that it was love. Love at first sight finally felt real.
You could almost be fooled to see nothing but a lovesick woman in front of you. The past few hours made that view of her impossible, though.
We've been together for so many years now. He tried to break up with me a few times, but I knew he was just in a bad place. A few times I've caught him trying to cheat, too. He's a big old tease with how much he flirts around. It's okay, though. I deal with it.
As if to prove her point, the match came closer to you. You flinched away faster this time, so the tip missed your shoulder. Luckily, she didn't try again, and simply pulled it away.
Every time. Jake learned his lesson and stopped for a while. Until you entered the picture, that is. Luring him back into his old habits. You're a bad influence on him.
Her mouth opened, and she pressed the match to her tongue. You winced at the sound it made when the flame extinguished, but she didn't bat an eye. With the flame out, she threw the matchbox itself at you, bumping against your forehead. It didn't hurt, but it was enough to damage your ego. She stood up again, kicked the discarded box far away from both of you.
Matches are too small.
You breathed a sigh of relief when she walked away again, returning to the cabinet to continue her search. Her back was to you, and she was muttering quietly to herself. Try to untie your hands, scoot towards the stairs, ask Gabriella about herself, sit silently. Let's try to untie my hands. You temporarily took the chance life provided. Who knew how long she would be turned around? But you hoped it would be long enough to work at the knot tying your wrists. Your eyes were fixed on Gabriella for any indication that she would move, while your hands bent and twisted to get a grip on the rope. The friction against your skin irritated your wrist, but you couldn't let that sway you. Without a good view of the knot, it was tricky to even conceptualize of a way to free yourself. Slipping your hands through the rope ended up being a better solution. You grit your teeth to keep quiet as you pulled your hands away from each other over and over again. It was just starting to loosen when you heard Gabriella click her teeth. She turned and began to walk towards you, effectively freezing you in place. If she had been talking to you, you had no idea.
I wish Jake would stop fighting fate.
In her hands was an old kitchen knife. It was covered in rust and most likely had been put down here years ago. Great, you didn't even get to die from a clean knife.
I try to move us forward, but he always brings us back 3 steps. I thought he'd leave his playboy persona behind, but sometimes change is hard. I need to help facilitate that change myself. You understand, right?
You couldn't understand in the slightest. As if you wanted to understand her point of view after getting kidnapped and tortured.
Know that none of this is about you. It never was. Don't take it too personally.
Don't take getting murdered too personally? Yeah, okay.
Funny.
The knife in her hands was more than enough to quiet your attempt at humor. She ran the blade along her palm to test its sharpness, but drew no blood. Was that good or bad for you?
I should stick to what I know works for you. Nothing too fantastical or showy. A knife does its job, plain and simple. The clean knives upstairs have their uses, but I'd prefer to cook with them over this one. It won't be without any flair, though. Maybe the age of it will make this all more thrilling, like a fine wine.
Your breathing shortened when the cold metal touched your throat. It hadn't plunged into your skin yet, but it was only a matter of time. Gabriella seemed to enjoy the teasing, though. You might have a few minutes left to forge a path to survival.
This was inevitable. All humans die someday. Your day just so happened to be sooner than others.
The blade slid across your skin lightly. The tip of the knife made its way down your neck, then your collarbone, then to your sternum. You tried not to move to avoid getting cut. If you made her lose control, she'd end your life in a heartbeat.
Jake certainly won't miss you. I can assure you of that. So, any last words?
She twirled the knife around absent-mindedly, allowing you one last opportunity to speak. Please don't do this. Is he worth it? Try the knot again. I gotta get out of here. Try the knot. You already did some work to loosen the rope around your wrists. Now it was a matter of getting them fully off. You wiggle your hands against each other, using the sweat on your skin to your advantage. Buying yourself a few more seconds would be vital. Of course I have some last words.
Spit it out.
She was still toying with the knife, but her swing could slice you at any moment. This would have to be flawless. You pried your fingers from the first wrap of rope, speaking just loud enough to keep her attention on your face. It's just that You deliberately looked towards the stairs with a wide-eyed look of surprise. If only you were an actor, because any audience would be convinced someone just entered into the basement. Gabriella took the bait as her heart seemed to drop, and her head whipped around. Now was your chance. In an instant, you slid your hands from the rope and grabbed Gabriella's wrist tightly. This snapped her back to reality, and a murderous glint appeared in her eye.
How did you?
You couldn't think about the pain of your wrists being rubbed raw. Not if you were waiting. Not if you wanted to get out of this alive. Using all your strength, you twisted the knife away from you and used your free hand to punch Gabriella square in her throat. Kuh! She let out a grunt of pain as she fell backwards onto the ground, dropping the knife. Your breath was heavy, and you were hyper-aware of your thundering heartbeat. This was it. While she was gasping for air, you had to act. Defend yourself. There was no time to think. Flipping yourself onto your stomach, you reached for the knife Gabriella had dropped. Your hand slammed down onto the handle, and you wrapped your fingers around it like your life depended on it. In this case, it did. Just as you heard Gabriella begin to regain control of her body, you jumped across the floor towards her. You couldn't allow yourself to give her any leeway in this fight. You pinned her down with your body weight, but her own strength made it difficult to gain control. Her nails clawed at you, and she grit her teeth, trying to keep the knife away from her.
Damn it! I knew I was taking it too. Easy on you. I should have sawed off your limbs.
Every movement of hers tried to flip you over or just get you off, but you wouldn't budge. This had to end here, or she'd end you. Go for her heart! You lifted onto your knees, trying to use your full weight to overpower her. Every muscle in your body ached, but you had to ignore it. Giving in to that weakness would mean giving up. You had to hold on. You yelled to release some of the tension building up before pushing down as hard as you could. She was resisting just as much as you were fighting, but you had the upper hand in this position. The knife plunged lower, and your body tilted along with it. The world slowed as you met her gaze. You could only imagine that your own expression mirrored the terror in hers. The blade was embedded deep in her chest. She had completely frozen. Then came the blood. It trickled from her open wound and stained her clothing. It didn't look right. It was a blackish color with hints of red. It had an almost iridescent quality, and the smell was not natural. You lifted the knife, and more of the thick, viscous liquid spilled out of her. The pure agony was clear on her face. Gabriella was gasping for air and clutched at nothing but concrete floor. You couldn't show any mercy, though. The blade came down again and again. It was an awful feeling as the blade sank through her skin. You steeled yourself to remain focused. Any signs of stopping would put your survival in jeopardy. She laid beneath you weakly, barely able to keep her eyes open. When you were certain she wouldn't be able to attack, you leaned back on your heels. She's a robot? The sight before you was vile. Her chest was open enough to reveal something non-human. It wasn't human organs, but various wires and blinking lights within. The blade had cut tubes that were spilling some kind of oil. Despite that, you could swear there was still blood coming out of her. What? What the fuck are you? She choked on her own breath as tears fell from her eyes. The panic on her face was heartbreaking. She had lost.
I had to be with him. I couldn't. I was weak.
As you observed her, something shiny caught your attention. A key had fallen from her shirt in the midst of your attack. You bent down to grab it, ignoring the blood. As you did, her body jerked and she let out a pained wheeze. The robotic heart in her chest was blinking red. You couldn't bear to watch.
No. This can't be it. Ah!
She screamed out again. You scrambled backwards to get away from her, but tripped over your own feet. Oh right, the rope. You swiftly cut yourself out and dropped the weapon. You had to get out of here. Not bothering to look back as your kidnapper bled out, you ran to the staircase. Yanking on the door proved to be pointless. She had locked it. Shit. Wait, The key! You made quick work of shoving it into the keyhole. The handle turned, the door swung open. And you didn't stop running. You ran down empty streets for what felt like hours, the asphalt grinding into your heels. You didn't stop until you were wheezing for air and your feet were throbbing too much to keep going. The air was dry in your lungs. You were left breathless on the side of the road. Luckily, a sheriff's car noticed you and pulled over to help. It was hard to articulate what had happened to you, but you were eventually brought into his car and transported to the hospital. After incessantly telling them to go back and check the house, a few units were sent to investigate. No body was found in the basement, but there was a trail of blood and black liquid that covered the floors of the home. You were questioned as both a victim and a suspect, but were let off the hook. The house itself was in someone else's name, a man in his late 20s who was looking to sell the home. The house's owner was interrogated as well, but insisted he'd never met a woman named Gabriella, nor let her stay on his late father's property. It was all so strange, and nothing added up. Had she survived? No normal person would, but you had seen firsthand she wasn't quite human anymore. She had destroyed herself from the inside out for a man who didn't want her. You hear that, ladies? Don't be like this chick. The ongoing investigation plagued your thoughts, and you were left wondering. Was she still out there? Ending 2 of 5. Broken heart. Okay, I'm gonna save it here. Thanks for playing. Let's look for the bathroom. First things first. Where were you going to piss if need be? You tried your best to sit up and look around, but it proved to be pretty difficult with your hands behind your back. After a moment of struggle, you used all your strength and your abs to sit up properly. Your eyes scanned the room for any door that could lead to a bathroom, but you came up empty. There was a creaky staircase off in the corner, but you couldn't see the door upstairs from this angle. There was also a window shining light into the room. You couldn't possibly pee outside without escaping, though. Other than that, there were a few boxes and cleaning supplies. Maybe you could use a bucket? Wow, you're so desperate you were resorting to a piss bucket. Desperate times comes for desperate measures. The floorboards above you were so loud you could hear footsteps from all the way in the basement. Somebody was up there, undoubtedly the person responsible for taking you captive. Alright, I think this is gonna be the same. Let's cry. Well, let's give her a reaction she doesn't expect. Stare. You couldn't muster up any kind of reaction besides bewilderment. You stared up at her with wide eyes, your body completely frozen in place. Upon seeing your lack of response, the girl let out a sigh.
Oh, well, that's no fun.
She knelt down in front of you, screamed for help. Let me go, you're a fucking psycho. Let me go. She frowned and stared down at you. It felt judgmental.
Do you really think that'll work? I'll just let you walk out of here because you told me to? I thought you were smarter than that.
Oh, you know of me?
So...
Her eyes were fixed on you without a hint of looking away.
now is the time for us to chat. How's that sound?
To chat?
I want you to understand exactly what it is that you did wrong.
Distract her. What tools did you use last time?
Oh, just some stuff laying around in here.
Gabriella stood up from her kneeling position to look around the basement. It gave you a better chance to survey your surroundings.
I've used that old shovel, shears, the knives upstairs, a mallet, even a bowling ball. That one wasn't nearly as fun, though. I had to buy a new pair of flats after that girl.
You were barely listening to her insane ramblings anymore. From this vantage point, you could see a small window that could be used as an escape. Whether you could make it there without her noticing was up for debate, though. There was also the staircase where she came from, but you had no idea what was up there waiting for you. Maybe other serial killers?
That's enough chit-chat, isn't it? The fun hasn't even started yet.
Gabriella's heels clicked against the concrete as she sauntered away from your floor spot. Whatever fun she was referring to was probably the opposite for you. She laced her hands behind her back, allowed her eyes to wander the room, lost in her own world.
What shall we do to start the evening? It'll have to be quick if I want plenty of time to dispose of you later, but I hate to rush things.
Ask Gabriella about herself. Let's try scooting towards the stairs. She wasn't looking at you. This might be your only chance to escape. Holding your breath, you slowly shuffled across the floor. Every heartbeat felt so loud as it hammered into your chest. You tried to keep as quiet as possible, knowing any sound would make her turn around. Luckily for you, her searching through the cabinet was loud enough to mask any noises in your direction. You had to use the power of hope and manifestation to keep it that way. One scoot of your butt, a slow turn of your body, a push of your legs against the ground. Every movement brought you a little closer to freedom. There. The stairs were within eyeshot now. You could see up to a closed door. There's no way she locked it and trapped herself down here too. Ooh. Turning your head slowly to face the rest of the basement, you were met with Gabriella, who stood a few paces away. She had noticed you. Her brown eyes were a shade darker than normal. Hey, get high enough on the steps and then drop kick her. She brandished a silver hammer, and it was gripped in her hand so tightly that you could see her veins.
I can't take my eyes off you for a second, can I?
She said it in an almost playful manner, but it sent a chill down your spine. You were caught red-handed.
It's so cute that you thought you could climb the stairs like that. But you're too flighty. This is what I get for playing with my food.
The hammer was raised in the air, and time slowed. You scrambled towards the stairs with reckless abandon, kicking your feet in panic. Help! Please! Somebody! Help! Your screams were cut off as a flash of light consumed your vision. Pain was the last thing your brain could register before nothing. Ending 1 of 5. Game over. Thanks for playing. Alright, one more. I'm assuming there's an ending where we get her interested in us. Assess the situation. It was best to stay calm right now and figure out what happened. You shifted your shoulders and elbows to prop yourself up, but it proved to be pretty difficult with your hands behind your back. After a moment of struggle, you used all the strength in your abs to sit up properly. Being left alone in a dark, silent room gave you some space to be alone with your thoughts at the very least. There were no clues in this room as to where you were, so you focused on how you got here instead. You must have been approached from behind and hit with something that knocked you out. The bruise you felt forming on your head was physical proof of that. What else did you know for certain? Pretty much nothing. This was unfamiliar territory, and you were without any resources to call for help. The floorboards above you were so loud you could hear footsteps from all the way in the basement. Something was up there, undoubtedly the person responsible for taking you captive. There were a few moments of alarm that were brought to an end when the footsteps got louder. Your eyes were glued to the ceiling above as they moved to the left, then forward, towards the rickety old stairs. Your heart stopped as the sound of a lock clicking hit your ears, then the scrape of old metal as the doorknob turned. The blood in your veins ran cold, and you felt as though time slowed in anticipation of what was to come. Your kidnapper was coming downstairs, and you were about to see their face for the first and possibly last time. Then came the sound of shoes on top of the stairs. Every step brought your inevitable fate closer and closer, staring helplessly into the darkness as they descended. The sounds came to a halt, and then the whole room was bathed in pink. You flinched and squinted your eyes from the drastic change in lighting. You had expected to see a burly man dressed in all black, maybe even a scary mob boss who was about to ask your family for ransom money. Skip. I think she'd like it if I cried, so let's stare again. And then Jake? Really? And then... Why are you doing all this for a man? Gabriella stared down at you for a moment before a new expression of confusion crossed her face.
What was that?
You heard me. You're a young woman who should know her worth. No man is worth this much effort. She seemed genuinely shocked by this turn of events. Pushing aside the fact she was caught off guard, she rolled her eyes.
Jake is not just some man. He's my man. And frankly, I don't appreciate you devaluing him like that.
Girl, men ain't shit.
I should have left the tape on your mouth. That's enough chit-chat, isn't it? The fun hasn't even started yet.
Ask Gabriella about herself. Who are you? Like, without Jake? She didn't turn around at your question, but you knew she was listening. You know, what are you like when he's not involved? I can't imagine you acting like this all the time.
I act normal. People like you just bring the worst out of me.
You sincerely doubted that, since the common denominator here seemed to be Jake. Even if he was the one bringing out the worst in her, you knew you couldn't say that out loud. Then, what is normal to you?
My normal is boring. Everything is predictable. I feel happier when he's around, that's all.
After a moment of tense silence, her head tilted towards you. It was brief, but you could almost spot a smile on her face.
But if you're going to pry, I like photography. Aside from taking pictures of Jake, it makes a moment live forever. And I want to see the world with him one day.
You watched her face quickly switch back to blank as she approached you.
I wish Jake would stop fighting fate.
In her hand was an old kitchen knife. Is he worth it? You couldn't think of any other way to dissuade her. It was a desperate attempt to make her reconsider. To your surprise, Gabriella's composure seemed to crack. Her grip on the knife had been so effortless, but now she seemed unsure. Everything that came as naturally as second nature had been put into question, and she stared down at you in confusion.
Is Jake worth it?
Yeah, it sounds like he's hurting you, maybe even on purpose. Do you really think this will make you happy? Gabriella's gaze fell to the rusty old knife in her hand. As she stared down at it, her grip loosened, then tightened again. You hadn't expected her to doubt herself after all this.
Jake will make me happy. It'll all be okay after we're together.
Is this not a... what is it called? A cost-sunk theory or something? Like you invest so much time into something, it has to be worth the amount of time that you've invested? Or at least you delude yourself into believing that?
It has to be. It has to.
Why do you think he's the answer? What if Jake doesn't want that though? But what if everything isn't okay? What if everything isn't?
We'll make it okay. He'll be with me, so everything will be okay. I won't have to worry about him running off or hating me. I need him. You don't.
You're right. I don't need him. At that, Gabriella froze entirely. You took the chance to speak again, sitting up more comfortably. And you don't either. Trust me. Conflicted, Gabriella began to walk in circles. In small circles. She couldn't decide whether to grip her hair or swing the knife around from the looks of it. Ultimately, she let out an angry groan and threw the blade across the room. It clattered against the wall and fell to the ground unceremoniously.
This is stupid. This is all so stupid. I fucking hate this.
You watched silently as she let out her frustrations, pacing the room and letting out various groans while muttering incoherently. When she looked back at you again, she looked so distraught it threw you for a loop.
I just want him to like me. Is that really so hard? I do this all for him, and he never appreciates me. Not one thank you.
Her legs swung around to kick the cabinet. It sounded painful, but she ignored it.
I'm just so tired of fighting. He's just out of reach. Every day pulls us further apart.
She lets out a yell. She wasn't looking at you, instead staring at the ceiling to keep herself composed.
I want to be happy. I hate this.
You know, you can be happy, right? The same brown eyes that had terrified you just moments before now made you feel a sense of pity. Why were you sympathetic towards this monster of a woman? She must have been just as surprised as you from this turn of events, since she couldn't meet your gaze anymore. It was like Gabriella had been replaced with a statue, eyes trained on the ceiling, in silent contemplation. Had you made the right choice by questioning her beliefs? Would she say fuck it and kill you for fun? Every second that dragged on made you more concerned for your own safety.
You're right. I can. Just not with Jake.
Her focus then returned to you, but it felt different. You felt like prey within the jaws of a predator earlier, but this felt new. Now you felt like a piece of candy on Halloween that was about to get picked from the bowl. It was a frightening change of pace.
Fate works in mysterious ways. I think he's just a means to an end. A way the world led me to my solution. The answer to my problems.
Huh? That implication made you worry for Jake's safety, but you didn't have time to dwell on that. Gabriella's face came closer in a way that both intimidated and flustered you. The hardened edges of her features were now softened. That cutesy persona she put up was now backed by a sweet smile and flushed cheeks. Was your heart pounding in fear or fascination?
So, tell me, what's your name, sweetie?
Against all odds, you had survived. Not only that, but the crazy girl who had kidnapped you was now your only confidant. She had taken you out of the basement and cleaned your wounds with such care, as if she hadn't been the one who inflicted them. Without the looming threat of death, it was easy to fall into conversation. You told her your favorite foods, and she made them for dinner. You told her your favorite color, and she bought a fresh bedsheet for the spare room. A little digging into her past told you she was a very insecure woman. Her parents let her move out at a young age so they had more money for themselves. Jake never really liked her, he just liked that she loved him. He fed into her toxicity because it made him feel important, as did her own parents. You did wonder why Jake never called law enforcement on her, but that was in the past now. She told you about her need to be perfect and alluded to her changing herself to fit his mold. When you tried to get her to clarify, she just shut you down and changed the subject. You weren't allowed to leave the house, but you hadn't expected her to trust you that much yet. Maybe with time, she'd see you as a friend or lover rather than a bird in a cage. Ending 4-5. Yandere. Thanks for playing. Alright, so there was a part before ending 2 where we had a choice to slash her face. Maybe it's here? Try the knot again. And then skip. Defend yourself, of course. There's no time to think. Now go for her face. You jerk your arms side to side, trying to get her grip to loosen enough to attack. Every muscle in your body ached, but you had to ignore it. Giving in to that weakness would mean giving up. You had to hold on. Your grip on the knife adjusted, and you pushed down as hard as you could. She was resisting just as much as you were fighting, but you had the upper hand in this position. You were shaking as the knife plunged lower. You slashed a huge gash across her face. It had slid across her forehead and down to her jaw. You had to avoid gagging as reality set in. Then came the blood. It spilled from her open wound and onto the floor. It wasn't right. There were parts of her blood that were blackish instead of red. It had an almost iridescent quality, and the smell was not natural. You, being appalled and disgusted, served as the perfect distraction. She used that chance to pry the knife from your fingers and pushed you back. You let out a gasp as your back met concrete once again. The tables had turned as Gabriella had the advantage once again. You had no time to react before the knife came towards your throat. The last thing you heard was her maniacal laughter before nothing. Ending 1 of 5. Okay, thanks for playing. Let's just go back to the start. Skip. I feel like if you just panic, it's just gonna end up being cry. Oh no, the reality was setting in. Tears pricked the corner of your eyes and you felt that familiar burning sensation. Hot tears slid down your cheeks silently. The girl pursed her lips.
Oh, well, that's no fun.
She knelt down in front of you and reached for you, causing you to flinch back. No amount of self-preservation could avoid her in this situation, though. Let's skip. Let's do... Scream for help. You inhaled deep and let out a loud, shrill scream. It was a desperate attempt to contact the outside world. A sharp pain took over your senses as she kicked your face. Your skull bashed into the ground again, making you disoriented. Your eyes were watering as you looked back up at Gabriella. The smile on her face was betrayed by the icy cold look in her eyes.
I really thought I had some time to chat with you first. I guess you're not one for the small talk then.
Everything was throbbing as you struggled to keep your vision focused. The clack of her heels thundered in your ears as she walked a few paces away.
It's straight to the point with you. Well, straight to the point we will go.
You could barely make out the shape of a garden shovel. It came closer, then nothing. Ending 5. Okay, let's try this again. And let's assess our situation. Stare at her. You're a fucking psycho. She giggled again, a sound that was quickly starting to grate on your eardrums.
I get that a lot.
How irritatingly dismissive.
So...
Her eyes were fixed on you without a hint of looking away. Egg her on. Does Jake even like you? Gabriella's face turned towards you with a forced smile.
Of course he likes me. He loves me.
I don't know. If you have this much competition, it sounds like he wants someone else. Actually, it sounds like he wants anyone else.
Shut up.
If 1 or 2 interactions with me was enough for him, maybe the problem is you. You're just not what he's looking for in the slightest. I almost feel sorry for the guy.
Stop it.
If I had a crazy, psycho stalker like you, I'd try to find a way out too. No wonder he's always after other people. He's trying to escape you.
Shut up!
A sharp pain took over your senses as she punched you across the face. Your skull bashed into the ground again, making you disoriented. You had no time to recover as the next punch came to the other side of your head. Then the next, and the next.
Shut up, shut up, shut up!
Every blow sent your mind rattling and your body grew weaker. Your eyes were so watery that it obscured your vision, and you could feel blood dripping from your nose. The punches kept coming endlessly. A consistent onslaught of pain. Then a slow, gradual fade into nothing. Oh, look at the time! The sun will be up soon, which means it's my time to go. Remember to like and subscribe if you like my content, and leave a comment on what you thought about the game so far. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Remember, stay sharp and stay curious. Bye!